Welcome to Hacking for Hacking, creating a dev team. So,
yeah,
Heman.
so before we get started, just a few questions, because we've heard a lot about dev teams, kind of surprisingly. So how many of you are organizing a hackathon with a dev team? Okay, wow, most of you.
That is awesome.
And how many of you are in that dev team? Oh, that's amazing. All right. Also, because we've been hearing this a lot, how many of you use Quill or Gavel or any other HackMIT stuff? Actually, we use HelpQ, so us too.
And where are the MIT people?
MIT first.
Okay. so I know. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll introduce myself first. Whoa, I didn't click on it. As you see, we're a real dev team because this is actually hosted in a browser, and we decided to use the HTML5 library.
Oh yeah. So this is the link. HackRU.github.io/handbook will get you these slides. We'll keep it up for a bit. Yeah.
All right. Me. I'm my background. I'm the director of R&D. R&D is the name of our dev team, and from past experience, I've been the president of the Mobile App Development Club, vice president of the Video Game Making Club, Creation of Game Society, COGS. Right now, I'm head hacker ambassador for our undergraduate student club, CS club, and from that club, I was also hacker chair. So basically, my role as hacker chair was to get people together and go to hackathons and organize hackathon trips. And head hacker ambassador is just mentoring the other hacker chairs. And I'm a community mentor. So I work in our cave, which is our computer science lounge, mentor people from classes to like dev tools and everything like that.
And hi, I'm Heman. Because you guys can see my face, I decided to do something else. I'm the other HackRU R&D director. Last year I was USAC's tech chair, so I was trying to build an open source community. Yeah, we're now figuring that out a little more. We learned a lot. And the other thing I did was I was part of the problem solving club for a semester or so before it also split up and reorganized itself. So yeah, I've also been sort of around the community. Also yeah, so as we go, now we're gonna go over like some things we learned as R&D. So as we do so, please like raise your hands if you have any questions or want to discuss something. All right. So first thing, what is a dev team? Since most of you already have one, I think we somewhat know what it is. The one thing I've been learning about hackathons is it's not one person. It used to be one person for a HackRU, and that was a big mistake.
So like a bit more background about like how we like became onto the dev team and all that, our onboarding and all that. So 2 years ago, HackRU didn't actually have a dev team at all, and we both were directors of internet, so that was our role. And dev team was just one person building everything, like the website and handling all that. And that became an issue because what happens when that person graduates? We kind of just fall into this whole like mix of just recreating projects and recreating code and stuff like that. So then that was some of the origins of the dev team. And we've seen the dev team through 4 to 5 hackathons. So we've seen a lot about like how to manage the dev team and what works and what doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. So the key points we have is, of course, fundamentally the dev team is for the hackathon, so it builds projects hackers use, right? Like your registration system, if you have a judging system, that, mobile apps, your website. The other two we really like and have the most fun from is, firstly, we learn real-world programming. So when you get into our process, you'll kind of see how like it's sort of transitioning where we're not really hacking anymore because we're actually testing, we actually have design, we like documenting, and it's kind of getting more and more realistic, feeling like more what we were doing in our internships or what people in our internships wanted to be doing.
And I'm pretty sure like half of you said you were on a dev team, so you probably have the same feelings as we do when we just jump into coding and like how different it is from like class and how we're actually working on like, they could be like industry projects, like if we extended it to that. But that's exactly how we're building it. And part of the dev team is also, at least for HackRU, our vision is also to build projects for the open source community in addition to our hackathon. So just extending it into our computer science community, our undergraduate student computer science club and trying to build more open source projects. Because once we get our dev team underway and we know like what's working for us for our projects, we want to keep building projects like that and teach other people in our community to keep building projects like that that worked and that we could like pass on properly.
Yeah, so just to expand more on real-world programming, one of the things I really like about R&D is, and I don't know how many, like when you're at your hackathon and it's like sort of 3 a.m., like actually at 2 a.m. last HackRU, we had somebody try checking in. And of course, by then I had taken it down because it's 2 a.m. Who's the hell's gonna come? And then they just show up and are like, hi, can I check in? It's not working for me. And I'm like, what? So I just kind of like the what the fuck moment. Like, you're like, what just happened? So I don't know, if you guys want to share any experiences, we'd love to hear them. But those are just one of my favorite things is you deal with real people who have no idea how your tech works. And you can't be mad at them because, yeah, it's just, yeah, they don't know your stuff. But you've worked your ass off for like 3 or 4 months on it.
Oh yeah, just to like enhance the goal of this talk, it's not to like help you create or build a dev team. It's literally just us explaining like how our dev team is working. Every dev team has different situations and all that. We would love to hear those too. This is just the way we run.
Yeah. So the other one, actually, maybe we can open up to you guys. One of the things we've had sort of a bad experience with is getting requirements from other teams, because even though we're all usually all CS majors organizing a hackathon, when they get like, or at least that's what I've seen a lot of, when the other teams ask the dev team, say, hey, can we do this? There's just a lot of, how do I put it? There's just a lot of ambiguity, and they don't like express their idea that well, and that ends up turning into either a back and forth or a huge misunderstanding that can't be fixed at the last minute. So what are your guys' process for dealing with that?
Like communication from your dev team to other teams that need to use those tools. Just like an example could be like communication with our team and the marketing team, which is very important because we're building the website and they have the design of the website. Anyone?
So when I was developing a portal for sponsors, I talked a lot with our corporate relations committee about all the requirements they want, like all the functionalities they want, and they like wrote that all in a doc, and then like I implemented that all. And then we usually, for all of our projects, we give like a 1 week period after we develop our projects to send to our team, so that everyone on our team, not just like the committee that wants it, can look at it and like if they have any requests, so like if they want anything to be changed, then there's that 2 week grace period that can be done, and then we deploy it to like the public.
All right. So it sounds like you make a description and then you enhance deadlines for that too, which is what we're learning as well.
Yeah, we're trying to go for that.
Yeah.
Also, before you speak, can you just say your name and hackathon, just so people know?
I'm Jason. I'm Hackcon.
Right. And I guess the last thing for our team is just we're trying, like, for the past year, we've had a major issue where people from our dev team graduated, and that pass down has not been well because nothing was documented. So I see that's a common problem too with other hackathons as well. So right now we're trying to like literally document everything and try to go through proper like coding practices that we could find, like through GitHub practices and all that, like, and try to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Then the last big point we think a dev team should do is build a community, because I mean, when you're getting organizers from your community, they should also be giving back to that. And like as organizers of the dev team, we really hope to be, expanding that, making people more inspired to build projects by building for the hackathon. So yeah, so we hope to keep the project building tradition alive. And the other one, is also something tricky. So we'd also like to hear from you guys if you have experiences with it. But at Rutgers, CS sort of lives in a bubble. So there are a lot of other, like when I talk to physics majors, they're like, yeah, we have this like Fortran library that we like run astronomical, I don't even know what on. And I'd sort of just love to give them like a web portal or something like nice, maybe even graphics on top of it somehow. But like, we don't hear about these projects that other departments could use. So maybe if you have suggestions for that, that's something we'd like our dev team to like expand into as like our hackathon code base stabilizes.
So some of the points we just covered were just like building projects just for the hackathon and for like, building projects for the hackathon and making sure they're documented well and they can be passed on well. Another topic is the way we should reach out to other teams in our hackathon to actually get those projects done, because that's also a big barrier we reach, and just keeping like the tradition of like coding alive. We're essentially the hackers for our hackathon.
Yeah, right. Now,
all right, so now we're going to transition like a little more into just like what happens when we're like, getting new projects on board, at least for our team.
yeah. So as Jason from HackMIT already told us, they already get descriptions in writing and document before building, but they also take it one step further with the like that 1-2 week period of like the testing phase, I guess. We're trying to expand into that. We haven't yet gotten there, but we've definitely gotten the descriptions in writing and documentation, and we really recommend it. We had like this notorious project HackRU that like for 2 years kept changing description. It went from meal tracking for hackers so that hackers knew what they were eating, to meal tracking for volunteers so that the food team knew how much food was being consumed. And it was just kind of a mess in the middle where people didn't know if it was dead or alive, and there was no documentation, so nobody even knew what the idea was sometimes. Do you have? Okay. Okay.
All right. So this part is just in the situation where we're just like, all right, we have our team, and we can do more work. Like we could help out other sections of our team too, like our whole director team, like our whole HackRU organizing team, like other aspects like handling travel reimbursements instead of doing it by paper, having a tool for it, and just like Heman spoke about, like tracking snacks, and also like registration and tracking attendance, rather than just doing that on paper and looking at it after. So that's like going about how to actually like go about properly to get those projects, rather than just at like one director's meeting just going like, hey, we could use a project like this. And then the dev team just like, okay, where do I start? Or what is this for? Or am I even doing this correctly? And then at the end you build a project and you're just like, is it fitting in correctly because everyone wasn't on the same page? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a little more into how our R&D, how our dev team is working inside HackRU right now.
And yeah, actually we'd like to hear from you as well. So after we finish this slide, like please raise your hand if you have something really different or like just.
But we just want to share like the way your dev team is working, because we understand that our dev team works significantly differently than other dev teams.
So yeah, the way we work is we have project leads that focus on a particular project. So yeah, 3 of them are here. So under which there are like the devs. We call them architects because the alum who made the team wanted them to be called architects. But yeah, they're the devs. Above us, there's like 8 teams. Like if you look at the back of my shirt, you'll see like there's a whole list. Yeah, I guess if you really like want to know, we can list them out. But each of them has 2 directors, and then under that, there's basically whatever that team needs. Some have organizers, some have few organizers, some have many. And yeah, this leads to a lot of sort of tree traversal, because a lot of people need to be bothered for a lot of the projects to work. We need to talk to other directors who may need to talk to a particular organizer. So like our project lead will need to talk to them, or maybe even a dev would need to talk to them. So there's like sort of going up like 2 or 3 levels up the tree here and then going down over there. And it's like.
So basically it's, Heman and I are basically the directors, and our role is just to communicate with the rest of the team. And then we're scattered into project teams that work on projects with project leads. So one person is in charge of that project, and they are the person everyone references to. Before we had everyone references to Heman and I, but it's really hard to keep track of all the projects, especially if there's other people working on them. And we can't monitor those projects as well, because there's just too much going on. So Heman and I are also project leads actually, like for HackRU too. So we're working on 2 different projects too, and leading our project team. So under a project team, you have 3 other organizers, or like 2 to 3, and they're just helping you build that project. And the far out goal for that is when someone graduates, the person on the project team is able to lead that project again, and then have what direction they want with it, and they understand the team structure a little better. And a project lead would be able to take over the liaison role, because we are project leads too, and the liaison role is just like speaking to the team and just communicating with like other teams, making sure like communication is getting across. Communication is like the key like for R&D.
Yeah. So I guess to continue with the data structure, as you go down the tree, people get younger. So like when you like remove the root, you can just kind of cascade up because they have aged by a year or so, and it just kind of works. Yeah, it's an AVL deletion maybe, I don't know.
Yep.
It's sort of self-balancing, we hope. So any other teams have any other like different ways
Yeah,
of
one or
approaching
two
it?
like other teams want to share like
If I
their
remember
structure.
correctly, I heard that Bitcamp had a much smaller team, but I'm not really sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Specifically,
A name and hackathon.
I'm Jason from
HackHERS.
UMC, yeah. When you guys were talking about like the size and layout of your team, how many like were you talking about specifically? Because it almost seems like maybe you had other teams that were doing DevOps, or
Yeah.
So,
how many people in total would you say your R&D team?
R&D is like around between 25 and 30. It's yeah. So
No.
some of the other teams are also. I think finance is about 20, and then all the
Finance is
other
like
teams are like
5.
strictly smaller.
So every team in like under a project, like under like HackRU, they have a different team size because they have different purposes. Our team is the biggest team because of the projects we're managing, and we want to make sure like those projects can like continue on rather than recreating it. But other teams are much smaller. Like our food team is like 1, 2 people, and like and we have an exec role too. That's just 2 people. Like, so the entire like director's role, like the top of the hierarchy, is 14 people, and after that we handle our teams any way we want to. So any way we see fit for our role.
Yes, if anybody wants to talk about like a smaller team organization, that might be more relevant because I know that a lot of hackathons are a lot smaller than us
Yeah.
in like team size.
I'm Gerard from HackRU. We have a really small team, definitely, compared to like it's probably smaller than your whole team. Like the whole team of HackRU is smaller. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, from how we see it, like we usually don't have such a defined like project leader or like anything else. Like we're just like last edition where I think it was like 3 people in the tech team. It was like just basically collaborating on like deploying stuff. It was like hackathon for hackathon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if there's anything interesting in that. But, like yeah, we don't have that such a defined structure.
So how many projects did you have? Was it like just the registration side? Do you have an app in addition?
Yeah, I mean we have like I come from Barcelona. I also run a hackathon there, and I was in the tech team as well. So like been transitioning, and I took the app that I created there here. So in some way, like that was already done. But we had front end, like, but we spent mostly front end, most of the stuff. But what we did is like we tried to reduce the process of like how to from code to deployment.
Yep.
So like most of our sites are hosted on Github pages. We've done like we try to reduce the hassle as much as possible, like make it as easy as possible for like anyone to jump in and do something. So for example, like I mean we are all CS. So like if one of the sponsorship teams needs to add a logo, we'll just tell them like, hey, here's the guy how to do it. Just do it yourself. Pull request it and we'll review it.
Yep.
Maybe we should tell our sponsorship team to do that.
All right. So we don't have that much time, so we're just gonna run through our like what we have to present first, and then we'll have the discussion afterwards. And then obviously we want to connect with all of you afterwards, so we'll have a forms for that too. All right. And the last thing about our project team structure. So far we have directors, project leads, and then our architects under the project leads for that particular team. So we have one additional aspect of the team we just introduced, which is we brought in our alumni mentors, like our HackRU alumni, into our teams, because they were alumni who actually created tools for Hackathon too, to bring them in. Because what happens when you have a new organizer who just doesn't know how to program like in like this kind of setting? And I hope everyone knows what I'm talking about, like versus like school versus like building a project. So they need a little guidance too. And when we're all busy like rushing to create a project, that guidance we need to like get that from somewhere. Project lead is kind of too busy trying to manage the project and communicate with us, and they're also building at the same time because they're also like part of their team. So we put that role out to our alumni and we brought them in again.
I mean, also one of the other hopes is because they're in the industry, they'll know like some industry best practices that then we can like apply back to us when we don't know any or have like only a little glimpse in our internships.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Yep. All right. So we're going to show you like 2 or 3 of the projects that we are working on / are using for our hackathons.
Yeah.
So I guess the first one, you want to use Sledge? So you guys heard of Gavel, right? So we used Gavel too before, but Gavel didn't actually match what we needed for our hackathon. So out of a spin-off of Gavel, we made Sledge.
Yeah. This is an old version that we used.
It's our judging system. Yeah, I'll do that. So sorry. So this is our judging system. Is that big enough?
And it's a simpler judging system. Like Gavel, you have a weird comparison thing. This one, you just do 0 to 20 in 4 categories. So the newer one, the interface is a little simpler that we're working on, but it's not done yet. And then we also have support for superlatives.
Yeah. So this is a general highlight of like Gavel and how it's working. And we also want to highlight, obviously,
Oh, that's a funny project. All right.
yeah. Let's go here.
Nope.
You can see what people are doing, like what judges are doing.
Where are you trying to go to?
Like what's on top.
What?
Where are you trying to go to?
I'll show you in a sec.
Yeah.
So what we also want to enhance is the amount of documentation we're going through to try to like show the description of what this project is, how to install it, and what's going on with the project, which is what Eric's also working on right now.
All right. You want to show them the front end?
The front end. That's okay, I'll show them the app.
All right.
All right.
You want to show them the app? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just do that. And then I'll show you the app we use for our hackathon. Obviously, we have our front end too that's like live right now, and that might take a little longer to show. So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you want, you can also go to hackeru.org to see our front end. Are we, just updated the CSS? Or?
It's updating in
Okay, cool. It's being updated. But yeah. So that exists.
All right, and this is our mobile app that we used last semester for our hackathon. And the basic idea behind this mobile app project, you can see the full description of it on our HackRU repo. But so we started our hackathon using QR scanning for registration. So we first built a third-party app using, well, obviously, but a hybrid application to build one app and have that deployed on both Android and iOS and have that run. And then only the organizers did the scanning and only the organizers used the app. So we're just like, why not we just expand this to do everything? So now this actually changes the states for like organizers and hackers. So hackers would only see the announcements they need from Slack and the events from the calendar. And also, this is actually pretty tiny, so just like, you gotta imagine a little bit. And then over here, they would see their QR and obviously the map of their hackathon.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
it's a lot cool.
And then if you were an organizer, you would actually see the scanner and it would scan and show you like the events you need to scan for.
Can you talk about what we use the QR code for real quick?
Oh yeah, okay, so the QR codes that was like one of the first things R&D ever did. And the essential idea was we needed a lot more stats on check-in and also food. So like normally you have like hackathons mark wristbands and things like that. So instead we use QR code scanning to like manage that system so you know how many meals they ate, how many people came in for second meals, things like that. So food has a lot more details on like actual numbers there, and then also registration became a lot quicker as a result because you're just scanning a QR instead of kind of control F'ing a spreadsheet by like and trying to spell names.
Wait, so you made like a native app for iOS and Android?
Yeah, so we started from a hybrid spin-off, right, to make like organizer apps, but then we just went into making 2 native apps. So we have 2 teams, that like iOS team and Android team.
Yeah, so now we have native apps.
Yeah.
Both of them are being renovated pretty heavily because they were also kind of last-minute fireborn things.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so in our dev team, we have obviously a recruiting process to go through. So some of the considerations we have in our recruiting process is who are we getting for recruiting, where are we advertising correctly, where are we like marketing our dev team, and who are we dealing with, and how much of a learning curve they have to go through. Because you can find really good devs who are really like, and we have an interview process too. So we could find really amazing people who could answer questions well, but we still need them to like jump and know how to learn quickly and build quickly because they will be like on their own too. We can't like, it's really hard to drag people and like mentor them through a dev team because we have stuff we need to deliver like at a timeline.
So actually, I'm sort of curious because not many dev teams I've talked to have talked about this particularly. So if anybody wants to talk about their process for a minute, like that would be very interesting, and I think it would like sort of expand our horizons, like all of our horizons.
We'll do that after, so we just finished our content.
I mean, all right, fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one more slide, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, this is what our
Yeah.
process was.
This is our process.
So what we tried doing is we'd ask them a really simple question. So we don't want to like weed out people who've like never ever done a web server or something like that. We just sort of want to make sure that they've passed sort of the 2 basic intro courses and they know how to
Yeah.
code and sort of willing to understand a problem.
So before, what we used to do is we used to just get like an interview. We would just make up an interview question and just ask them that. But now what we're doing is we're asking more like specific questions and specific situations we hit during our hackathon. So one of the things we hit was judging allocation. That like didn't work out so well during our hackathon and during our project. So now we're just asking like people who are joining our team, just like, how would you do this judging allocation situation and stuff like that, just to, like so they know like how we work a bit too. And like of course you see breakpoint and remover. If you try to parse from Slack, you get a whole bunch of nonsense. And what ended up happening was like we made 3 different algorithms to actually go through that. And when we looked at each other, we're just like, this all does the same thing. It's really cool. And we just want to see other people like ways of going through this
I'll be the first to say my algorithm was stupid and incorrect. But yeah, that's it.
All right. So basically, when we're having our dev team, we try to get through like Git the best ways to use Git. Obviously, using PRs and documenting.
From what I've heard talking to other dev teams, this probably is one of the more unique things of ours. I know HackMIT tries a lot to make their open source community look clean, but I don't know if they do use like issues and PRs for project management. So if you want to comment on that later, yeah, you're not sure. Okay,
All right.
we'll find out. But actually, to show this, I pulled up a PR
Yeah.
that.
We'll show you one of the scenarios we go through during our process of just handling the PR and going through that.
Can you just show Maya's?
What?
Show Maya's from LCS.
Okay. So our entire team actually lives on, we use Discord for our team for communication, and all the projects, they solely live on GitHub, and just solely from here, and they're all public too.
So you can read them all. Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, you can read them all. One of the things we have to note is unlike HackMIT's public GitHub, we don't really like,
What?
can you
Oh,
zoom in
yeah,
like
no
one or
problem.
two more? Yeah. So unlike HackMIT's, we don't vet the project. It's sort of always open source. So that's just a little warning. So like maybe these top 3 are definitely like sort of the more maintained ones because they've run a HackRU or 2. But then OneApp Android right now is going through a big rewrite. So if you go to that repo, it'll be kind of confusing.
So my way of like looking about it is just like a project is usually like never finished, so might as well just along the way, right? Just document what you have done so far, so people can see like this process is going through, and maybe just like fork off like the master that's like working stable a little bit so far. But like if we just wait till the end, we just keep like trying to enhance our code over and over again after hackathon's done.
Let me get to the PR I was talking about. Oh, so weird to see on a big screen. So yeah, you'll see like these like references to PRs because now the way code works on the main backend is you can only PR in, and that's the only way changes happen, which is something I really recommend because like feature branches and committing not to master are just really useful because then firstly you know that you have a branch where code works, which is just nice. You have a safe space sort of. And the other thing is feature branches let you know what has been going on, like what are these files? And then you look at the branch name and it already tells you that the person who was messing with these files was working on this feature because of the branch name. So this one was one where we, oh God, stupid Mac.
I will click on it.
Yes. Sorry, I don't use a Mac, so that
No, it's not a
clicking
Mac,
thing
it's just
is
me.
just dead. All right. So this PR was for changing our password hashing scheme. There's also already an issue on it because we also messed up a bit there. But we went from a not secure hash to a secure hash, basically. And the one thing I really like about this PR is you'll notice that the first commit was when the dev working under me, Maya, made the actual change. But then you see there's this crosshair because we set up testing. So every time you make a pull request, actually every time you push, it runs a few tests. And the password code was some of the things that I had already written tests for. And her code failed it. And then she basically you can just kind of see her iterating and debugging as like the test code yelled at her.
That's basically her talking with our like Travis CI. It's basically
Yeah.
her talking with Travis CI and like running through all these.
Just to show you what that also looks like, because it was kind of something to configure. I can probably get to the Travis build. Oh, never mind. I'm actually not.
But what we get at the end is we don't have to like check up on the project to see if it's like stable to like merge it into master.
This is so tiny.
Yep.
How do you test it? Like, how do you manage it?
I was trying to get there.
Yeah, he'll get there. At least for my project. So I'm in charge of the mobile projects. So other than setting up linters, obviously, so we all have the same code base.
Nice.
It's just
Sorry. Yeah. So you get this.
Yeah.
I don't know why it does 4 checks. I'm going to try figuring that out later. At least it does non-zero number of checks.
It's the old integration and the new integration. You have both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I click on details, if I can click, right.
you have to let me click.
Ha, I did it.
Uh-huh.
All right, so yeah, it says build failed. You can sort of, the one thing that got me for like half an hour straight is that's a link. That's the link that matters a lot, so you can actually see what it was doing. God damn it.
But basically, to answer your question from before, to see if it's correct or not. So after the linter runs through it, obviously it's
Yeah.
more readable for me, and
I
then I will
zoom
be
in.
able to look exactly what I need to look
Qasim,
at
can zoom in.
in the section of the application that we delegated.
Yeah, so,
So that's basically how we go about it.
oh boy, that's embarrassing. I have to show them the coverage number. All right. What did you just do?
Just zoomed in a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we got really lucky with Travis because one of the scary things about the backend is, oh my
You
god,
don't have
where's
to read
the,
any of this. Just look at
yeah,
it.
where's the database going to
It's
live?
tiny.
So Travis lets you actually run like a small database in. So what Travis does is it makes a Docker instance and runs your code in that, and then runs your tests, and then checks for a certain exit state. What's up? Okay, we're not going to do that. Like that's just it makes a little computer do a thing.
Talk to us after.
Yeah.
For those stuff.
So one of the things it does is it can run a little DB. So it does that. So luckily we can like not expose our
Yeah.
database password to the world while testing.
So it's like a mini deployment without hooked up to our actual stuff.
Yeah.
Just to test it out.
And then you'll just kind of see that it runs a lot of commands. So it like, because our backend is Python, it does a pip install, which is Python's way of doing dependencies. Pretty much
So
yada
some of
yada
the things
yada.
we look across, like for our projects again, like what we're following is trying to do, like when I mentioned like correct guidelines, it's very vague. But what we're going about it is literally asking our project teams to search for a style guideline to follow. So then if another project lead took over, they would be following the same style guideline and wouldn't have to take so much time just to understand what the project is doing and just jump into it a little better by reading that in the documentation that's written. Just those two combined is what I mean by like good practices.
Yeah.
When you guys do style guides, you do like the same like linting stuff for every project.
No, we let the project lead pick the style guide they want to use, and they use it for their own project. We give them that flexibility.
It's
Yeah.
so yeah, we recommend like ESLint for JavaScript.
Oh, yeah.
What did you use for TypeScript? So there's TSLint for TypeScript.
I
Yeah,
use
yeah.
SwiftLint for like Swift. There's
And-
Kotlin. We have one for Kotlin too. I forgot the name off the top of my head.
And of course, Pylint. You can probably see it yelling at us here somewhere, but Pylint for Python.
Also, if you guys don't know, we love hackathon projects that are for hackathons. So we always like go about and look at other projects. That's how we come up with HackMIT, and the mobile apps were actually spawned from Hack the North. So we saw those open source projects, and then we just like started hacking on those, and then that's how we learned how to like build our own projects too from that.
All right.
So
That's-
if you guys like are building like projects and making them open source, just like we'll try to find them. Okay, so that first slide that we kind of left off on before.
Yeah.
So you can find the slide to this over here, and over here is our handbook.
So yeah, we're treating
again,
maintaining our organization also as a project. So you'll see like PRs and stuff like that here, and all the meeting minutes are also here, so you can like kind of check out how we do that stuff.
So if you want to learn how our entire dev team works throughout that entire process we just explained, and even more than that, we wrote a handbook, we're continually updating this handbook of exactly how our team is running, and all that too.
Yeah.
And if you want to see like obviously what is it notes for this like discussion and all that, it's also linked over there.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
docs.
It's linked in the docs. It's right down here. So if you just go to docs, like in our handbook, just go to documents, you'll see the README of just this entire discussion. And we tried to be as transparent as possible, so you know like the time periods that we try to allocate things for.
Yeah. This is what we had to give MLH.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's,
And also,